oppression is not only white on black. It's not only white people who can oppress black people. Black people can also oppress white people. Indian people can oppress black people, and black people can oppress Indian people. Chinese people can oppress black people, and black people can oppress Chinese people. Oppression is not only and always white on black. If snakes were to come from Europe or from anywhere and come to Africa and claim Africa as their land and call themselves Afrikaners, then they will kill all black people who resist until black people submit to their will and accept that they are squatters in their own land. Then white people will be the employers of black people, because without the land nobody can survive. Nobody can plant food on the space. People need the land in order to survive. That small piece of land on which black people or Africans will be allowed to stay, it will be put under trustship to be owned by the king or the chief, so that Africans must have no sense of ownership, because once they have sense of ownership of the land they are staying, they will demand ownership of their working environment. Then the snakes will make laws that says that no African is allowed to own any piece of land. No African can be an employer. And then, even if an African is doing the same job as a snake, the snake will be paid more than an African. The same way that Europeans have taken up the land from Africans and killed all Africans who resisted and put Africans under trustship to take away their sense of ownership. Then they legislate that Africans cannot be employers. Only Europeans can be employers. And then, even if Africans are doing the same job as Europeans, Africans will be paid less than Europeans. Snakes will do the same thing if they come and colonize Africa. They will take away the land, take away ownership from Africans, and then they will legislate that Africans cannot be employers. Only snakes can be employers. They will legislate that if Africans are working with the snakes will be paid more than Africans. That indicates that oppression is not only white on black. It can be snakes on black, or it can be black people on snakes. But after a brutal and bitter struggle for equal rights or equal opportunities, then the snakes will say that now Africans are free. Africans can now own the land, but the land will be made more expensive for Africans to afford, because they were dispossessed and they could not make money. And they will legislate that because Africans are free, Africans can now be paid the same as snakes. It's no longer about the species that snakes must be paid more even for doing the same job as human beings. Now, it will be about the position. It means that the manager will be paid more than other workers. But to be a manager, you must be a snake. The very same way now they say, after they say that during apartheid, they were saying that when you are doing the same job, Africans doing the same job as an European, a European will be paid more. Now they say Africans and Europeans will be paid equally. But the money only, it won't be about the skin color, it will be about the position, which means the manager will be paid more than other workers. But to be a manager, you must be white. You must be European. The snakes will say it's no longer about the species, it's about qualification and the types of job. It's about the manager will be paid more, but to be a manager, you must be a snake. Because to qualify to be a manager, you need tertiary education. But they will make tertiary education very expensive so that human beings will not afford because they were dispossessed. Only snakes will afford to go to tertiary education. The same way today, they say only managers will be paid more. It's not about the skin color anymore. But to qualify to be a manager, you must have tertiary education, which they make very expensive so that Africans cannot afford. This would mean that Africans will always be earning less. Africans will always be dispossessed. Africans will always be slaves. While during colonial and apartheid time, they said Europeans will be paid more because of the color of their skin. Now they say managers will be paid more because of their qualification. But to qualify to be a manager, you have to be a snake. To qualify to be the snakes will want to be paid more because of the color of the species. Snakes will be paid more. Only managers will be paid more. But to qualify to be a manager, you have to be a European. This is to indicate that oppression is not only about white on black. Oppression can be about snakes on human beings. In America, Europeans come to buy Africans as slaves. It could have been done by snakes. Snakes could have come from America to buy Africans as snakes and take them to America. And when they arrive there, there's a legislation saying that only the land can only be owned by snakes. No one, Africans does not qualify, or humans does not qualify to own the land. And any human who wants the land, whether it's an African or Native American, will be killed until they submit. That's how laws are made. You are told what to do, and if you don't do it, you are punished. The same way a robber will tell you to give him your money. If you don't give him, he will kill you. Then, when they legislate, they say that when Africans who are slaves must be paid less than slave masters. Then the snakes will be saying human beings must be paid less than snakes. But after all the demand for equal rights, then they will say the managers will be paid more than other workers. But to be a manager, you have to be a snake. To be a manager, you have to be, they will say it's no longer about the skin color. It's no longer about what Europeans will be paid more than Africans. It's about manager will be paid more, but to be a manager, you have to be white. You have to be a European. Again, this shows that oppression is not about white on black. Oppression is about the will to oppress, the will to steal, the will to dispossess other people. That is how employment system is. That is how slavery is. That is how oppression is. And anybody can oppress anybody. White people, black people can oppress white people the same way that white people can have oppressed black people. Africans can oppress Chinese people the same way Chinese people are oppressing and enslaving Africans. Africans must stop accepting oppression as a curse that can only be done to Africans. We must rise up and stand up as human beings and demand equality, not ask for equality. Because we are also capable of oppressing other people. If we go to Europe and kill and claim the land and kill all people who resist, they will have to work for us. Because if they don't work, they will starve. Because nobody can plant food. Food can only grow on the soil. Plant doesn't grow on space. Therefore, anyone who resists employment will starve to death, and people are inclined to preserve themselves. Then they will be our employees, they will be our slaves. The Europeans will be our slaves in Europe. The Asians will be our slaves in Asia. The Americans will be our slaves in America. The Australians will be our slaves in Australia. Because when you take the land, you take away the food, and without food, nobody can survive. For them to survive, they will have to work, to submit. And when they refuse to give up the land, you kill them the same way a robber will kill anybody who resists giving him his money or whatever position the robber wants. Therefore, again, oppression is not only or always on a white on black thing. Oppression can be black on white. Oppression can be black on Asian. Oppression can be black on American. It is important to understand that we are not free. At first they were saying the land can only be owned by white people. They were saying white people must be paid more even for doing the same job as black people. Now they say it's no longer about the race, it's about qualification. But to gain that qualification, they make it very difficult, very expensive, so that you mustn't afford. Only what people can afford who are in possession of all the wealth. It is no different from saying that now it's no longer about the race, it's about the positions. But a manager will be paid more, the CEO will be paid more, a doctor will be paid more, a scientist will be paid more, an engineer will be paid more. But to qualify to be an engineer, a scientist, a doctor, a CEO, a manager, you have to be white. It is the same thing as saying that white people will be paid more. To say that a doctor will be paid more, but to be a doctor you have to be white, is the same as saying only white people will be paid more. We are not free as long as there's employment system. As long as there's employment of one man by another, we are not free. It does not matter how they put it, whether they say only the managers will be paid more, but to be a manager you have to be white, or just saying that white people will be paid more. It's the same thing. Let us not be confused. Let us not be deceived. Let us understand that we are as human as other human beings. We can oppress other human beings just as we have been oppressed. Let us not ask for liberty. Let us not ask for freedom. Let us take it. Let us demand it and take it.